This is a true life story. Please learn from this story. The church was always full of life. Every Sunday, people clapped, danced, and sang with joy. But one person made the service extra special: Brother David, the church keyboardist. Brother David was not just an ordinary keyboardist. When he played, it felt like heaven had come down. His fingers danced across the keys, creating melodies that made the congregation lift their hands in worship. The children loved him, the elders respected him, and even those who did not like music could not deny the power of his playing. Whenever the choir sang, Brother David's keyboard made their voices sound sweeter. When the pastor preached, soft music played in the background, making his words sink deeper into the hearts of the people. It was as if the keyboard was speaking its own language, one that everyone understood and loved. But one Sunday, something was wrong. The service had started, but the church felt empty. People clapped, but the sound was weak. The choir sang, but something was missing. The children, who usually jumped and clapped with joy, sat quietly. Even the pastor's voice did not have its usual fire. Everyone knew what was wrong. Brother David was not there. Whispers spread across the church. Where is Brother David? Did he travel? Is he okay? Finally, one of the choir members stood up and told the church the truth. Brother David is very sick. He could not even get out of bed this morning. A deep silence filled the room. Some people gasped. Others shook their heads. Mummy G.O, the wife of the general overseer, sat in her usual seat, watching everything. She was a woman of wisdom, known for her strong faith and sharp eyes. Nothing ever happened in the church without her noticing. She looked around the church and sighed. She could feel the sadness in the air. She knew that Brother David's absence had left a hole in the service. The pastor led the church in a short prayer for Brother David. After that, the service continued, but it was not the same. There was no excitement, no energy. Even when the choir tried to sing their best song, it sounded dull without the keyboard. After the service, as people were leaving, Mummy G.O remained in her seat, deep in thought. She had made up her mind. She would go and check on Brother David herself. But she would not tell anyone. Would he be okay? Would he even be awake? Mummy G.O had so many questions, but she knew one thing. She had to see him. She picked up her handbag, tied her scarf properly, and stepped out of the church. The sun was high in the sky as she walked toward Brother David's house. She had no idea that this simple visit would soon turn into a storm. Mummy G.O walked through the narrow streets, leading to Brother David's house. The sun was hot and the air was still. She could hear the distant laughter of children playing, but her mind was focused. She had to check on Brother David. She knew how much he meant to the church. Without him, the service had felt dry, as if something important was missing. He was more than just a keyboardist. He was a light in the church, a young man with a special gift. When she reached the compound, she knocked softly on the wooden door. No answer. She knocked again. Still silence. She placed her hand on the door and pushed gently. It creaked open. Inside, the room was dim and the air smelled of medicine. There, on the small mattress in the corner, lay Brother David. His eyes were closed, his face pale. His younger brother, a boy of about 15, sat beside him, dabbing his forehead with a wet cloth. He looked up, startled to see Mummy G.O standing at the door. "Mummy G.O," he exclaimed, quickly getting up. She raised a hand to calm him. "Sure, my son. How is he?" The boy sighed. "He has been very weak since yesterday. He has not eaten much." Mummy G.O walked closer, kneeling beside Brother David. "David," she called softly. His eyelids fluttered open, and when he saw her, his lips parted in surprise. "And Mummy G.O?" His voice was hoarse. "Yes, my son," she said gently. "I came to check on you." A weak smile touched his lips. "The service. I wanted to come." She patted his hand. Don't worry about the service. You need to rest." Brother David's brother shifted nervously. "Mummy G.O, will he be okay?" Mummy G.O looked at the boy and nodded. "God is in control. Let us pray." She placed her hands on Brother David's head and began to pray. Her voice was calm but powerful. She prayed for healing, for strength, for God's hand to touch him. Unbeknownst to them, someone was watching. A little girl from the neighborhood had been passing by when she saw Mummy G.O enter the room. She recognized her instantly. Everyone knew Mummy G.O. The little girl's eyes grew wide with curiosity. What is she doing in Brother David's room? She wondered. She tiptoed closer, peeking through the slightly open door. Inside, Mummy G.O was still praying, and Brother David's brother stood quietly by the bedside. The girl's mind began to race. Why was Mummy G.O here? Why was she alone in a man's room? Her little heart pounded with excitement. She had discovered something big. Without waiting another second, she turned and ran as fast as her legs could carry her. She had to tell someone. Back at the church, the ushers were still arranging chairs and tidying up after the service. One of them, Sister Joy, stood near the door, wiping sweat from her forehead. Suddenly, the little girl ran up to her, breathing hard. "Sister Joy! Sister Joy!" she cried. Sister Joy looked down at her, frowning. "What is it, my dear? Why are you running?" "I saw something," the girl blurted out. Sister Joy wiped her hands on her dress. "Saw what?" The girl's eyes shone with excitement. "I saw Mummy G.O in Brother David's room." Sister Joy's eyebrows shot up. "What? Where?" "I saw her go inside. She was alone with him." Sister Joy gasped. Her heart started beating fast. Mummy G.O alone? With Brother David? Something was not right. She bent down and grabbed the girl's shoulders. "Are you sure about what you saw?" The girl nodded eagerly. "Yes, I saw it with my own eyes." Sister Joy's hands trembled. She looked around, making sure no one was listening. This was big news. She had to tell someone. Without thinking twice, she hurried off to find the other ushers. And that was how the rumor began. Sister Joy walked quickly across the church compound, her heart racing. The little girl's words echoed in her mind. "I saw Mummy G.O in Brother David's room." She could hardly believe it. Why would Mummy G.O visit Brother David alone? It didn't make sense. As soon as she spotted two other ushers, she hurried to them. "Sisters, I just heard something shocking," she whispered, looking around to make sure no one else was listening. "What is it?" one of them asked, folding her arms. Sister Joy leaned in. Mummy G.O was seen inside Brother David's room. Alone. The two ushers gasped. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Sister Joy nodded quickly. A little girl saw her. The ushers looked at each other, their faces full of shock and confusion. What was she doing there? One of them asked. Sister Joy shook her head. "I don't know, but isn't it strange? A married woman, the wife of our general overseer, inside a young man's room? Alone?" The other usher bit her lip. This does not look good at all." The news spread faster than wildfire. Within minutes, different whispers filled the air. I heard Mummy G.O was in Brother David's house. They say she was alone with him in the room. What if something is going on between them? God forbid. But why would she go there alone? The story changed as it spread. Some people added their details. Others exaggerated what they had heard. One person said Mummy G.O was sitting too close to Brother David. Another said they locked the door behind them. Someone else claimed they had been meeting in secret before. By the time the rumor reached the church elders, it had become something completely different. Mummy G.O and Brother David are secretly in love. That evening, a group of church members gathered outside, discussing in hushed tones. "This is serious," one man said. "What if the general overseer finds out?" "He must hear it," another woman replied. "He deserves to know what his wife is doing behind his back." One of the elders shook his head. "We need to be careful. We cannot just accuse Mummy G.O without proof." The woman scoffed. "Proof? A little girl saw her. What other proof do we need?" Some church members wanted to confront Mummy G.O immediately. Others suggested waiting to see what would happen next. But one thing was clear: the church was no longer at peace. People who once respected Mummy G.O were now whispering behind her back. The once joyful and united congregation had turned into a place of gossip and suspicion. And Mummy G.O had no idea what was happening. While all this was going on, Brother David's younger brother sat in a small room, looking at his phone. Earlier, when Mummy G.O was praying for Brother David, he had taken a short video. It was meant to be a message of thanks, a way to show Daddy G.O that the church cared for his brother. After watching the video again, he smiled. Then, without thinking much of it, he sent it to Daddy G.O with a simple message. "Thank you for your prayers. Sir, Mummy G.O came to check on my brother today. God bless you and the church." He had no idea that this video would soon reveal the truth. By nighttime, the rumor had reached almost everyone in the congregation. Some people were too shocked to believe it. Others had already made up their minds. Mummy G.O was guilty. And the worst part, Daddy G.O still didn't know anything. But soon, everything would come to light. And when the truth finally came out, the church would never be the same again. By the next morning, the church was in chaos. The rumors had spread like wildfire. People whispered in corners, exchanged worried glances, and sent messages back and forth. Some members were confused. Mummy G.O? No, she would never do such a thing. Others were convinced. I always knew something was off. How can a married woman go to a young man's room alone? Even those who didn't believe the rumors were afraid to speak up. The church had turned into a battlefield of gossip and judgment. Meanwhile, Mummy G.O was completely unaware of the storm building up around her. She went about her daily activities as usual, praying, reading her Bible, and helping people in the church. She had no idea that her name was already stained. That afternoon, a group of church elders gathered in a small room. They had all heard the news. They knew something had to be done. Elder Martins, the oldest among them, sighed and rubbed his forehead. This is serious. If we don't handle it well, our church's name will be destroyed. Elder Grace folded her arms. But do we even know if it's true? Elder James frowned. A little girl saw her. The whole church is talking about it. Where there is smoke, there's fire. Elder Miriam shook her head. Mummy G.O has been a good woman. I find it hard to believe she would do such a thing. Elder Martins raised a hand. Enough. We need to talk to Daddy G.O before this gets out of hand. The room fell silent. Everyone knew that if Daddy G.O found out, Things could change forever. Would he believe the rumors? Would he defend his wife? Nobody knew. Later that evening, Mummy G.O arrived at the church for a women's meeting. The moment she stepped inside, she felt something was wrong. Women who used to greet her warmly now avoided her gaze. Some whispered behind her back. Others simply walked away. She frowned. What was going on? Then, Sister Joy approached her with a forced smile. Mummy G.O, the elders need to see you. Mummy G.O felt a sudden heaviness in her heart. Something was wrong. When she entered the elder's office, she saw their serious faces. Elder Martins cleared his throat. Mummy G.O, we have called you here because of a serious issue. Mummy G.O sat down slowly. What issue? Elder James looked straight at her. Some members of the church claim you were seen entering Brother David's room. Alone. Mummy G.O.'s eyes widened. What? Elder Grace continued. People are saying you and Brother David might be too close. Mummy G.O.'s heart pounded. That is not true. I went there to pray for him. Elder Miriam sighed. Mummy G.O, we want to believe you, but the church is talking. People are beginning to doubt your character. Mummy G.O.'s hands shook. How could they believe such lies? She took a deep breath. Did anyone ask me why I was there? Did anyone even try to find out the truth? The elders were silent. Mummy G.O clenched her fists. This is wrong. You are accusing me based on rumors. Elder Martin sighed. Mummy G.O, we do not want to judge you, but even Daddy G.O will have to hear about this. Mummy G.O felt as if the ground beneath her was shaking. Daddy G.O, her husband, would he believe her? Would he doubt her? Tears burned her eyes. She had done nothing wrong. Yet, her name was being dragged through the mud. She had no idea that the truth was already on its way, and it would change everything. Mummy G.O sat in the elder's office, her hands trembling slightly. The accusations swirled in her mind like a storm. How could they doubt her? She had served the church faithfully for years. Now, because of one careless rumor, her reputation was at stake. She swallowed the lump in her throat and took a deep breath. She had to remain calm. Elder Martins folded his arms. Mummy G.O, we understand this is difficult, but the church members are talking. Even some pastors have begun asking questions. We must inform Daddy G.O before things get worse. Mummy G.O looked up, her voice firm. I have nothing to hide. I went to pray for Brother David. His younger brother was there as well. I did nothing wrong. Elder Grace sighed. Mummy G.O, even if you are innocent, the way it looks is dangerous. A married woman in a young man's room alone? People will talk. Mummy G.O clenched her fists. They cared more about appearances than the truth. Just then, a loud voice echoed in the hallway. Where is Mummy G.O? It was Daddy G.O. The elders exchanged nervous glances. They had planned to tell him gently, but it seemed he had already heard something. A moment later, the door swung open. Daddy G.O stepped in, his face unreadable. His presence commanded silence. His eyes moved to Mummy G.O, then to the elders. What is going on? Elder Martins cleared his throat. Daddy G.O. There have been rumors spreading in the church about Mummy G.O and Brother David. Daddy G.O frowned. Rumors? Elder James hesitated. Someone said they saw her enter his room alone. Mummy G.O took a deep breath. It's a lie. I went to pray for him. His brother was there. That's the truth. Daddy G.O studied her face, then turned to the elders. "And you believe the rumor without verifying it?" The room was silent. Mummy G.O.'s heart pounded. Would her husband doubt her too? Daddy G.O sighed and shook his head. "This is disappointing. None of you thought to ask Brother David himself." The elders looked at one another, suddenly realizing their mistake. Daddy G.O pulled out his phone. "Before we continue, let's hear from Brother David." He dialed a number. The room was so silent, they could hear the phone ringing. After a few seconds, a weak voice answered. "Good evening, sir." "Brother David, how are you feeling?" Daddy G.O asked. "I'm much better, sir. Thank you for checking on me." Daddy G.O got straight to the point. "Were you alone with Mummy G.O when she visited?" There was a pause, and then Brother David's voice came through, clear and firm. "No, sir, my younger brother was there the whole time. Mummy G.O only came to pray for me." A heavy silence filled the room. Elder Martins cleared his throat. Are you sure?" "Yes, sir," Brother David replied. "My brother recorded a short video of Mummy G.O praying for me. He sent it to you." Daddy G.O blinked. "A video?" He quickly checked his messages, and there it was. A video of Mummy G.O, hands placed on Brother David's head, praying with sincerity. His younger brother could even be seen in the background. Daddy G.O turned the phone screen toward the elders. "Watch this." They leaned in, their eyes wide with shock. Everything was clear now. Mummy G.O had been falsely accused, and the whole church had fallen for a lie. Mummy G.O crossed her arms. "You were all so quick to believe a rumor. None of you thought to ask me directly. Do you know how painful this is?" The elders lowered their heads in shame. Elder Miriam wiped her face. "Mummy G.O, we are truly sorry. We acted too fast." Elder Grace sighed. "We should have asked you before assuming the worst." Daddy G.O.'s voice was firm. "This is how churches break apart. Careless gossip, lies. This must not happen again." The elders nodded. Mummy G.O exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. "What about the usher who started the rumor?" Elder Martins cleared his throat. "She will be spoken to. There must be discipline for spreading falsehood." Daddy G.O shook his head. "And the little girl who started this?" Everyone was silent for a moment. "She is just a child," Mummy G.O finally said. "But she must be taught an important lesson." The truth had come out, but the damage was already done. Now, it was time for justice. The next Sunday, the church was full. But unlike before, the atmosphere was heavy. People whispered among themselves, stealing glances at Mummy G.O as she walked to her seat. Some were ashamed, some were embarrassed, and some still found it hard to believe they had been wrong. After the choir sang, Daddy G.O stepped onto the altar. He cleared his throat and adjusted the microphone. "Before I preach today, I need to address something important," he said, his voice deep and serious. The church fell silent. "Many of you have heard the rumor about my wife and Brother David." Some people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Daddy G.O continued, "That rumor was a lie." A murmur went through the congregation. Mummy G.O went to check on Brother David because he was sick. She prayed for him. His younger brother was there the whole time, and there is even a video to prove it. Now, the entire church was still. Daddy G.O sighed. But the most painful part is how quickly the church believed the worst. Without asking, without seeking the truth. A heavy silence followed his words. He turned to the side of the church where the usher sat. "Sister Joy, stand up." Sister Joy's heart started pounding. Slowly, she rose to her feet, her face pale with fear. "You were the first to spread this lie," Daddy G.O said. "Did you ever ask Mummy G.O what happened?" Sister Joy's lips trembled. "And no, sir." Daddy G.O nodded. "Instead, you took the words of a child and spread them without thinking. Because of that, you have shamed your leader and divided the church." Tears filled Sister Joy's eyes. She knew she was wrong. She had allowed her curiosity and excitement to ruin someone's name. "As punishment," Daddy G.O continued, "you will be suspended from ushering duties for 1 month. You will also stand before the church and apologize." Sister Joy swallowed hard, then nodded. She deserved it. She turned to Mummy G.O, her voice shaking. "Mummy G.O, I am so sorry. I let my mouth run without thinking. Please forgive me." Mummy G.O looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "I forgive you, Sister Joy, but let this be a lesson. Words can destroy. Be careful next time." Sister Joy wiped her eyes and sat down. After the service, the little girl who had started it all sat in her parents' house, her head bowed. Her mother and father stood before her, their faces stern. "Do you know the trouble you caused?" her mother asked. The girl sniffled. "I didn't mean to. I just saw Mummy G.O enter the room and tell Sister Joy." Her father sighed. "But did you see her doing anything wrong?" The girl shook her head. "No, Daddy." Her mother crossed her arms. "Then why did you make it seem like she was?" "I don't know," the girl whispered. Her father sat beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "My daughter, in life, before you speak, think. Do not say things you are not sure of. Lies, whether big or small, can destroy people's lives." The girl nodded slowly. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I won't do it again." Her mother sighed. "You will still receive punishment, so you never forget this lesson." That day, the little girl learned something important. Words have power. And once a lie is spoken, it cannot be taken back. The next Sunday, Mummy G.O stood before the congregation. "I forgive everyone who doubted me," she said, her voice calm. "But I pray that from now on, before we judge, before we spread stories, we ask first. Because when we fail to do so, we destroy what God is building." The church members bowed their heads in shame. They had learned their lesson. From that day on, gossip in the church was reduced. People were more careful about what they said. And most importantly, they thought before they spoke. The storm had passed, but the lesson remained. The days following the revelation were different. The church, once divided by gossip, began to heal. People who had doubted Mummy G.O now approached her with shame on their faces. "Mummy G.O, please forgive me. I was quick to believe the rumor," Sister Janet admitted one evening after Bible study. Mummy G.O gave her a warm smile. "I have already forgiven you, my dear. Just remember, next time, always seek the truth before spreading the news." Sister Janet nodded, relief washing over her. Others, too, came to apologize, choir members, ushers, even some of the pastors. Mummy G.O forgave them all, but she reminded each one of them of the danger of false stories. Despite the apologies, Mummy G.O couldn't help but feel a deep pain in her heart. The very people she had prayed for, cared for, and guided had turned against her in an instant. Would they ever fully trust her again? Would she ever fully trust them again? Brother David finally regained his strength and returned to the church. The moment he stepped into the building, children ran up to him, laughing and clapping. "Brother David is back," one of them shouted. The choir cheered. Even the elders smiled. Despite everything, Brother David was still loved. As he took his place behind the keyboard, he saw Mummy G.O sitting quietly in the front row. Their eyes met. He nodded grateful. She smiled softly, forgiving. Then he placed his fingers on the keyboard and played the first note. A wave of beautiful music filled the church, just like before. For the first time in weeks, the church felt whole again. After the service, Daddy G.O stood before the congregation once more. He looked around, his face serious. We have seen how a simple story, misunderstood and spread carelessly, nearly destroyed our church. Heads bowed in shame. We have also seen the grace of God, who allowed the truth to be revealed before it was too late. There were murmurs of agreement. Let this be the last time something like this happens here. If anyone is found gossiping or spreading false information, there will be consequences. The church was silent. They knew Daddy G.O meant every word. From that day forward, the members became more careful. They learned to ask questions, verify facts, and control their tongues. Mummy G.O had been vindicated. The church had been restored. And a powerful lesson had been learned forever. As Mummy G.O walked out of the church that evening, she took a deep breath. The pain was still there, but so was the peace of knowing the truth had won. She had faced judgment. She had been doubted, but in the end, she had come out stronger. With a final look at the church, she whispered a prayer. Lord, let this house always be a place of truth and love. And with that, she walked forward, ready to embrace a new beginning. Subscribe, share, like, and comment to increase the audience's visibility. See you in my next video.